Hello. I was recording something on a clip I heard from Hannibal Lecter, or the TV show Hannibal. I was recording a video and I screwed up and had myself muted on some brilliant stuff I said, and I'm not sure where I muted it at. So I'm going to try to record what I said from the recording I failed on, and then pick up where I left off if I can remember what I said, because I said some very brilliant stuff and it got muted, and it's thoughts I never had before. So anyway, let me play the clip, and hopefully I can remember what I said before, because I said some brilliant stuff, and I might not even release this video because I said some pretty brilliant stuff, and I don't know if I can remember everything I said. It might be lost forever, but here we go. Hello, someone recommended me to watch Hannibal on Netflix, and I just want to show I'm downloading that. I want to show a little clip, and I almost missed this clip from Netflix. I just want to show just a little 6-second clip. I guess I'm allowed to do that. Of something very brilliant that was said. That, see, I've recorded I studied the mind. I've studied my own mind for about 10 years. And by observing my own mind, I haven't been observing it as much lately. Every once in a while I'll get in that mode. But I probably recorded 5,000 hours, probably more, about how the mind works. And most of the stuff I forgot. But one thing I remember I recorded was about the mirror of the mind. And even the Bible even talks about that one. It talks about how man looks. There's a scripture about how a man looks at the word and then forgets about, I think Peter or somebody in the Bible says something about how a man looks at the reflection of himself in the word or something or other, and then forgets about, or a man looks at himself in an image or something and then forgets about what he looked like. And that's my biggest problem is I forget. First of all, in life you have to know who you are, right? That's one of the biggest problems. Like let's bring up Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher had to get electric shock therapy, right? Why'd she have to get electric shock therapy? Because she couldn't let go of stuff. And after so long, she had to get electric shock therapy, zap 2 months worth of memories that she couldn't let go of. And then she could function in life. Because she wanted to control things so bad. She's probably an absolute control freak of some kind. And what causes that? It's interesting how the human psyche works, and I've forgotten more stuff. I've recorded more stuff, but since I have a little bit of knowledge about it, I probably forgot more of the stuff that I've recorded than what I even remember. But what causes that? Well, your self-image of how you see yourself, it causes your behavior. For example, if first Hitler felt like shit about himself, right? Like he went into art school, and these Jews said to Hitler, "Your art is shit." And he had that tied to his self-esteem. That's how he felt good about himself, was his art. So when they said your art is shit, that was something he took pride in, his own self-esteem, right? So his self-image of how he saw himself, as far as the mirror of how Hitler saw himself, was tied to his art. And that's just like somebody saying to some girl, even though some girl might be beautiful, they point out something about some girl that's ugly, and that's all she can focus on, right? Even though she's a very beautiful girl, she might have one little flaw that no one would even notice, right? But these critics in this art school just said to Hitler that your art is garbage, right? And people mature, their art can get better and better, as you if you go to a good art school and the art instructors can help fine tune your art eye. Hitler might have become a brilliant artist, but you never know. If the So what they did instead, just like a lot of religious people, like when I got a gift to preach the gospel, or a spiritual gift from God, which was a gift of understanding, I went into as soon as I go into the church and tell them I feel like, well, I think I've been called to go into the ministry of some kind and maybe preach or something, and the guy just guns it down. The minister, self-righteous guy that has no spiritual gift but had to read books for years. Like, I don't have to read books to understand the Bible. I can just see things that no one has ever been able to see before in the Bible. So this guy just guns down my spiritual gift, just like they did to Hitler. And it doesn't bother me to this day. I finally realized that the guy did me a favor, because I was too sensitive to go into the ministry. It would have drove me nuts. But at that time, I could probably do it now. Getting closer to being able to do something like that now, but not then. I had it too tied to my self-esteem. It's so anyway, how you see yourself. Let me just play the clip here real quick. Let's hear the clip. This is interesting. Let's hear this real quick. Let's see, and then maybe I'll get some more insights. It's just a little 6-second clip, and I'm really mad because I almost missed it and didn't hear what the guy said, because the guy don't speak very good English. They picked the wrong person to play Hannibal. If you can't speak and communicate, now maybe it gets better as the show goes on. Because at first I didn't. I mean, the writing of the scripts is good, but if the guy can't deliver the script so that I can understand what the hell he's saying, because I don't listen real well. It took me 3 times to replay it. So maybe other people can hear it, but I didn't hear it till I replayed it 3 times before I could understand what this guy said. So let me play the clip real quick for about 6 seconds. And I almost missed it. It took me 3 times to listen to this, and I almost didn't go back and listen to it, because I thought I heard something. I thought he said something about a mirror, and I thought, I've recorded stuff about that before, and I can't remember exactly what I said that I recorded. So I studied, like I said, I studied my own mind for 10 years. And I remember there was something really critical that I reported about that. So let's play the clip here.
And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
Okay, I'm gonna have to listen to that again, because the 4th time I listened to it, I heard it clearly. I don't know why I heard it clearly that time. Maybe I didn't have my speakers plugged in. Maybe I wasn't hearing because my speakers weren't plugged in. I don't know. Huh. Let me play it one more time here.
It's whatever you need it to be. And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself.
First of all, I'm amazed that, see, you never hear people talk about stuff like this. And that's something that you could write a whole book about, probably. But he said the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best in yourself. Well, you could probably write a whole book about what he just said there. Because I'm getting all kinds of thoughts. And see, I recorded something about that. See, the mirror in your mind, let me explain a little bit about that. Since I haven't thought about it for a long time. I know I recorded something, but I recorded about 5,000 hours of stuff, maybe more. And it would take me a year to find where I recorded that, and I completely forgot what I recorded. But the mirror in your mind is how you see yourself and how you see other people, right? Or really how you see anything, right? Because what are you doing when you look? This is getting very interesting. I'm just thinking about it's triggering all kinds of thoughts. But what are you doing when you look at a memory? A memory is a reflection of something that happened in the past, right? First of all, anytime we look at something like a moment in time happens, and then we retain a memory of it, right? So when we look at it, what are we really looking at? We're looking at a reflection. We're not looking at reality, right? We're looking at a reflection of reality. Because I listened to this 4 times. It took me 4 times to listen to this because this guy didn't speak real good English. Or maybe I didn't have my speaker plugged in. Or maybe it was my ADD. But all I heard was the word mirror, and then I had to listen to it 4 times to get what he actually said, right? And then who knows, maybe I still didn't really hear it. But what I did hear was mirror, and I remember recording stuff about mirror. So when we look at a memory where we're not looking at the original, it's a copy or a reflection of a thought or a memory, like a videotape almost, of something that happened. And when you look at the mirrors in your mind, the reason he said mirrors, now I do remember recording this on my tape recorder, and I don't know if I want to give away this secret, but you know how that some animals don't know that their reflection is them? They don't know it's them, right? When they see a reflection in the mirror, an animal doesn't know. Some animals know that it's just a reflection, and other animals think it's another animal. Isn't that bizarre in itself, that thought right there? But when he said mirrors, he's talking about, have you ever took a mirror and then reflected into another mirror, and how it bounces the image back and forth and it goes off into infinity? When you talk about mirrors, that's how, in a sense, that's the secret on how we think. That's how we think. We reflect our different types of consciousness, and I'm not going to explain the different types of consciousness that we have. But that's how we process thinking. We look at one thing and then we reflect it back, and we think about it on another part of our brain. Then we reflect it back after we get more information from reflecting it back on the other part of the brain. Then we reflect that information back on another part of the brain, and then we reflect that back. And as we reflect that information back and forth in our brain, processing the existing memories and information that we had also from the past life experiences of all of those thousands of mirrors of information, then we bring it all together and then form an image or a belief system, right? And I've never had these type of thoughts before. This is all brand new, the stuff you're hearing that I'm saying. I've never had these thoughts, these exact thoughts before. I've thought about the reflection of how the two consciousness, how I've studied my own mind, that there was two separate consciousnesses, and that one part of our conscious thinks one way and another part can think another way. Because I don't want to give away the secrets on how I discovered that. And I haven't even thought too much about it, but it's a very interesting thing, because you can think one way, you can have an experience happen to you, and it's very interesting human thing in human psychology, like Donald Trump Jr. I never read the book, but I understand the principle. He wrote a book called Triggered, and I didn't read any of the book. All I know is that Donald Trump Jr. wrote a book called Triggered. Now, I don't know if he has any how smart he is, or I don't have any psychiatry background at all, other than studying my own mind. I know nothing. I've never read any books. I took psychiatry 40 years ago, or not psychiatry, but psychology. I read it 40 years ago, and it seemed so stupid. But I didn't understand anything of the mind, so it seemed so stupid. When I took basic psychiatry and started talking about Freud and all this stuff, and I don't know if I was stupid or if the book itself was stupid. Probably a little bit of both. But I thought it was so stupid, I thought it was worthless, garbage. And I didn't pursue it. But now that I look back on it, I can see some brilliance in it. But I have very faint memory of the information. But I'd like to restudy it and analyze it and see, based on what I've learned about the mind versus to know what someone else that thought about the mind also. But that's how we process information, is by the mirrors in our mind, by reflecting information off each part of our consciousness. And when a person's not able to reflect that information from one part of their consciousness to another part of their consciousness, if they're stuck, like for example the book that Donald Trump wrote called Triggered, if your consciousness is stuck, then it doesn't reflect back, right? And you don't process the information. It's stuck in one area, right? And if it gets stuck, then, like for example, if Donald Trump triggers someone like a black person, or Ashley Judd because she was molested as a child, or they're only going to see one image based on what? The image that was an image of the past, right? Like Ashley Judd was molested when she was a little child, so when she gets an image from Donald Trump that triggers that, a small, maybe 1% of Donald Trump is like this person that molested her when she was a child. When she sees just that one little triggered thing that triggers her because he has authority, and that person had authority that molested her when she was a child. So when she's triggered, what is she triggered into? That reflection, that memory of the past over here, right? And that's what she's looking back into the past, and that's what she's seeing, and then she's reflecting that back toward Donald Trump. with all this aggression and vengeance and wanting to destroy Donald Trump, right? So she's stuck. She's stuck. The reflection of what she's seeing is reflecting not back and forth, but hitting this and then being triggered and thinking in the past. Now that's how I see it when he talks about something like this. And I never had these thoughts before. These are all brand new thoughts. But this just triggered me when I heard this, and it triggered me into thinking about this because it's you don't hear people talk about stuff like this, and it caught my attention because I remember recording something in this 5,000 hours of stuff of me studying my own mind. So when I heard something like this, I'm like, wow. So let me play the clip one more time. Because this is interesting stuff to me. Because I've been studying my own mind for like 10 years. So it's very interesting to me. Other people it might not mean anything to them. So let's listen to it one more time. Okay, we're at, does this mean it'll go back 10 seconds? That's what I want.
It's whatever you need it to be. And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself.
Okay, from that point I recorded some more brilliant stuff that I'd never thought before, and some of that might be lost forever. Some of that might be lost forever. The only thing I can remember that I recorded after that, because I had some brilliant thoughts, and it's a shame it might be lost forever. Because I had some very brilliant more thoughts, and I can only remember one thing that I said, but I said some of the best, most brilliant stuff that I've ever thought of after that, and I actually had myself muted, so it's lost. The only thing I can remember that I said, man, it's a shame that it's been lost, is that I started thinking about this more, and I said something about how our mind is a matrix based on our past thoughts, and how that the mind is like, have you ever went into like a house of mirrors, and you see all these reflections of yourself? I said something about that. I said that the mind, the matrix of the mind, of how an individual personality sees the world, is kind of like a house of mirrors. How all of these things reflecting and like a house of mirrors, someone goes into a house of mirrors and they see all these reflections of their self. So I was seeing the mind and the memories as mirrors, reflections of the past that make up our character and our individual belief systems, and our reflection of how not only how we see ourselves but how we see other people, based on these memories and these millions of reflections of memories, and then all those reflections come together to form one mirror or one image, which is our current belief system, right? So this crazy house of mirrors, like for example, this is a brand new thought I didn't have before. So like when we're sorting through information, like when we think in a certain part of our brain, which I understand I'm going to write in a book about, which I don't want to talk about here. When we think, and we think in a certain part of our brain, that's what we're doing. We're processing information from existing memories of an event that just happened that triggered us to think about it in the first place. And then we're drawing from all the other mirrors and bits of memories of information, which were just mirrors, right? Or not really mirrors, but mirrors of information, of images, and of audio-visual that give us consciousness that we're thinking about, that are in the past, that sometimes we see clearly and sometimes we see dimly. That we take that information and then we form a new belief system, whether it be about our own self or other people. So you can see how someone like a very highly intelligent person like Ashley Judd can remember Jesus said, "The light be in you is darkness. How great is that darkness?" So if one of our mirrors in the past is utter darkness, and utter darkness would be like a black hole in our personality. Like a black hole would be something that just catches light and it doesn't escape, right? So if we have a black hole in our consciousness from our past, you're not going to get a reflection back on it, right? It's just going to suck things in. If you have a memory that's just pure darkness, how the hell is it going to reflect any light back? How's it going to give it? It's not going to give any light. So when you look at that mirror, and then you view a person like Donald Trump through that mirror of consciousness of a dark thing that happened to you in the past, how the hell are you going to see someone clearly? You can't. Okay, good, I'm recording this. Because this is good stuff too. How in the hell are you going to have a good thought about somebody when you haven't banished the darkness? Like Ashley Judd, for example, was molested, and she says that she banished that darkness, but yet she goes into an airport, and a guy barely taps her on the, I think he might have tapped her in the butt or something, and that triggered her, and that darkness that from her past rose up, and she wanted to destroy that guy. And I hate to pick on Ashley Judd because I think she's a brilliant woman, probably way more studied than I am. But then even going to school and calling yourself, like, I'm a doctor, that's brainwashing yourself to have a closed mind to other people, right? If I see my self-image, we're talking about mirrors of how we see ourselves and how the mind works. If I run to a conclusion and on this mirror I put a label on myself and I call myself a doctor, or from someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who believes this thing about himself, that he's actually superior in intelligence than other human beings, then what happens then is when somebody like a Joe Rogan, like you see him, he has a belief system about Joe Rogan, right? And Joe promotes his belief system about himself by bringing him on the show and saying you're so smart and all this stuff. And I'm not saying the guy's not smart. I'm just saying there's so much volumes of information in the world that there's nobody that can learn it all. Even a doctor of medicine can't remember just the simple reactions from the drugs that they give, that's in a physician death reference, which A physician death reference is this thick. Who in the hell can remember all the drug interactions of a physician death reference? It's this thick on all the drugs. No one can remember that. Not unless they have a photographic memory. And nobody, and even if they did have a photographic memory, I guess then they could probably pull that information. But no one can do that. No, there's very few people in the world that can do that. So what I'm saying, that's just the medications that a doctor can prescribe, not all this diseases and all the workings of the body, and it's just too much information. So, and that's just on that topic alone. We're not talking about all the other things in life. Just because you know something about astrophysicists and you can understand that, because you build a foundation of understanding, and then you build on that foundation, and then you got yourself this high little pyramid like the Egyptians did, built themselves these little pyramids, and you built yourself this thing, and when you think it's so high, and it's really not. It doesn't even reach into space. It's really not that high, but you believe it is, and you believe this self-image of yourself. So when someone like a Joe Rogan tries to bring up a point to someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson, he sees himself as superior. He doesn't. He labels himself and sees himself in that self-image. He's stuck seeing himself that way, and he doesn't have an open mind. But it's easy for me to see that someone like Joe Rogan is well more rounded in common sense and intelligence than someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now, I'm not saying that Neil deGrasse Tyson can't grow. See, so it's not a measurement of intelligence. Everybody's intelligent. Everybody has a very intelligent brain. But once you get stuck believing something about yourself, then you stop growing. That's when you really stop listening to other people. And when no one can learn all the information, so anyway, I don't know if I'm ever going to remember all the other stuff I said. But the house of mirrors, we all walk in a house of mirrors, right? That's the mirrors of the reality of the experiences that we've had in life, in which how we view the world. It's called our character. And there's different types of consciousness, there's different things, there's different type of people with different types of consciousness. Some of us walk in those house of mirrors. I walked in the house of mirrors of my own mind for 40 years with a mental disorder that I had and still suffer from, which ain't even, people don't even believe it exists. It's called attention deficit disorder. But I don't want to explain to me what attention deficit disorder is. I'm not a so-called psychiatrist. I've never even read a book about psychiatry. So, but I have studied my own mind and made about 5,000 hours of recordings. And so when I heard this thing about the mind here, about these mirrors, because I recorded information about that triggered me to want to think about this more deeply. Let's listen to it just one more time. I gotta hear it one more time. And then I'll have some more thoughts. Okay, something's wrong here. Where's my, oh, there it goes.
Not the worst of someone else. And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
Okay, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself and not the worst of someone else. The worst of someone else. So basically, what he's talking about is getting stuck and seeing a mirror. Wow, it's amazing how they're talking about this stuff. See, I've never heard anyone ever talk about this stuff. I've recorded information about this, but I've never heard anyone else talk about it. This is the first time. I've never heard anybody else talk about it. And the stuff that I recorded about the mind. And I just record stuff and then I move on. I don't go into it deeply to try to... This is me actually going deep on it. Or trying to go deeper. Because I recorded the information, but I've never thought about it enough to write a book about what I've discovered. I knew I discovered something powerful and special about the mind, but I've never used my mind to explore deeper. I'm doing it right now. I'm using my mind to explore deeper. But it's so interesting. The mirrors of your mind. It's such a concept. Because it's like a matrix, like a house of mirrors. Everybody walks in their own house of mirrors. Some people get lost in life. Like Carrie Fisher. She had to get electric shock therapy. So she was in her own house of horrors. And what is the house of horrors that Carrie Fisher was in? Why did she have to get electric shock therapy? Because she couldn't stop thinking about the images or the monsters that she saw in the mirrors, that she saw in other people that were triggered from her past, of her life experiences, which were the old mirrors of her old memories. The matrix of it all. She wanted power in her adult life. When she got power by fame, right? Her fame brought her power. That means attention of other people. But is that really power, right? Just because people pay attention to you, is that power? Because people listen to what you say, is that power? I guess if they give you money, money's a form of power, right? Attention is a form of power, but is it really power? No. Now you can use fame and fortune and to have a voice and have people listen to you, and then people that are blind that see you in their mirror self-image as you as this famous person, and they worship you. That's why someone like Joe Rogan hates Hollywood, because they worship their self. They start believing a false image of their own self. They start thinking they're better than other people, when in reality, who does all the dirty work and should get the praise in life? It's actors who aren't even living their real life, like Jean-Luc Picard, who does Star Trek. People just love the guy, and all he's doing is reading a script that's not really him, but he's able to act and become that person which people admire, but that's not even him. And then the people love him because they believe that that's him in a part of them, but that's not even him. He didn't even write the script. Someone else did. That's a character that someone invented in some writer's mind that he brought to life, because he's an actor that read a script and brought it to life. So really, they should be worshiping the writer, right? But people love the guy. And isn't everything in life we're following a script? And what is that script that we're following? We're following the script of the mirrors of our mind, of the past, of our experiences. And a bad thing can, like, for example, both Oprah and Hitler didn't have fathers, right? So one, it pushed them to one way, and then the other, it pushed them to toward another way. Anyway, I forgot what I was thinking. I lost track on the core thought I was thinking. Okay, what did he say? Let me go back to this, the foundation of what they said here. Oh, he says, in the mirrors of the mind don't. Let me listen to it one more time because I forget stuff so quick. Let me play it one more time, the clip. Go back 10 seconds.
And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
The mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself. Okay, I gotta listen to it one more time. See, when I think deep in a different part of my brain, and then I have to bring that into consciousness. Oh, let me hear it one more time. And then my conscious part of the brain isn't as strong as my deep thought part of my brain. I don't use the conscious part of my brain too much.
And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
The mirrors of your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else. See, that's how brainwashing occurs. See, I see things different than the other people. Since I was going to write a book called DNA of the Mind, by something that King Solomon said. He said, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And then as I looked at the Bible, I saw that words are either life or death. I started viewing, and since Satan created the first disease, which was a lie, and it never existed before, I started seeing everything differently. And then Jesus said, the light being used, darkness, how great is that darkness? See, Jesus knew all this stuff about the fabric of reality of heaven and what it was like in Genesis before Satan came, and in heaven before Satan created the first lie. And tying all this in together with mirrors, what does a mirror do when he reflects something good? Oh, this even ties in with God. I never thought about this before. But when you put two mirrors together, they reflect into infinity, right? Now, if that reflection into infinity is something that's good, then that, just like a seed, you know how a seed. Oh, this is interesting. I never had these thoughts before. This is brand new information. A seed is something that goes into infinity, right? That's why everything in the Bible is always talking about a seed. Like the seed of God came down into Mary, or even in the universe, a seed came from a singularity that was smaller than an atom, right? And then that created everything, right? Or, of course, that wasn't Bible, that was science. Or a seed of thought, like a Declaration of Independence, of how it bursts a nation, right? It all comes from some sort of seed that gets formed, right? See, that's how I see the world. A seed of thought. I'm thinking about writing a book about the mind and the seed of thought, and how that we don't see thoughts as powerful things, but yet in Genesis, Satan brings one seed of thought and it changes everything. And then God says, "Where art thou?" And then I had a revelation of time about 40 years ago where I was praying and time slowed down. Then time slowed down again for me. When I was praying again 40 years ago, and the guy that was near me, it slowed down for him also because it encapsulated him. So through that revelation, it didn't mean anything 40 years ago, but as time went on, I started thinking about it. I found out that there wasn't any time in heaven. Then I found out that when God, you start putting other clues of the puzzle together, and God says, "Where art thou now?" after they sinned. Then, of course, the Bible is silly, and they think the Christians are silly when they say that the age of the earth is only 6,000 years. Insanity, stupidity. When that was when Adam and Eve shifted out of time and joined the race that was keeping the earth. Like it says that the one were keeping the garden, right? But there's also another creation that was keeping the earth, because it shows two separate creations in Genesis, right? So from that revelation of the time that I experienced, and I've never taken a drug in my entire life, never even smoked pot, but from that revelation, I got the understanding that no, the earth isn't 6,000 years old. The earth, that's when Adam and Eve joined the human race. And then of course, they said that the sons of God, which were the people that were like angels, they never had any children until after they sinned. The people that like angels, all of a sudden they saw the daughters of men. Then all of a sudden you see their life expand, go from 1,000 years down to 120 years. As soon as they joined and intermingled, it got cut down to 120 years. So they went from eternal beings that never died to beings that lived 1,000 years to then beings that only lived 120 years when they continue to degrade and mix in with the people of the earth, who were on the earth. Which Joe Rogan's always talking about, how that man evolved. And he has all his explanations are from his belief in evolution, which I believe in natural selection. I'm not so sure about the evolution. I have to believe the Bible, since I've seen Jesus in a vision and heard God's audible voice twice, and thousands of other revelations, from the time revelation to everything else that I've experienced. And there's a lot of people out there that have way more revelations than I've had. A lot of mine are from the past, when I was close to God, but I drifted back in 1994. But anyway, I don't even know what I was talking about here. What was I even talking about? Let's make sure I'm still recording. Yeah, I'm still recording. Oh. Maybe I need to replay the clip one more time just so I can get back on track. Uh-oh. Went 10 seconds forward. Let's go 10 seconds back. Let's play it one more time.
And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
Oh, now I know what I was talking about. I was talking about seeds. See, seeds. See, what's wrong? What's happening here is that when the mirrors of your mind what is it? What is a mirror? Okay, let me explain this so that people can understand this. What is a mirror in your mind? It's a burned image of a memory, right? And what is a memory? A memory is a seed, right? It's a seed of what? It's a seed of thought. And what does that thought do? The thought speaks, right? And it creates your consciousness. So what he's saying here is when this guy sees evil in someone else, remember Jesus said, if the darkness be in you as darkness, how great is that darkness? When he sees a seed in someone else, it doesn't have to become him. Right? But what he doesn't know is a seed is a seed. And what he doesn't also understand is that let me explain something else that goes back to Genesis that most people wouldn't even think about. In Genesis, when they ate the fruit, what does a fruit have? A fruit is a food and a seed. So it's something that you eat, right? A fruit is something you eat, but then it has a seed that replicates itself. Like right now, the virus, what does a virus do? A virus replicates itself, but yet they say a virus is not really alive, right? It's not a full DNA thing, but it hijacks the DNA. So what he's afraid of here in Hannibal with the mirror and the memory, which is a seed, what he's afraid of here is that seed becoming him. Because in the Bible, I was going to write a book about this. In the Bible it says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So what he's afraid of, Jesus said that the heart is ground. He's afraid that this seed is going to burn a mirror into his memory and then seed his mind, and he's going to become evil. But that's how evil replicates, and how social, and I don't know anything about, I read sociology. I don't remember a damn thing about it in school. But what I do know from studying my own mind in the Bible and understanding the Bible is that a seed is how all evil began and when Satan created the first lie. So it replicated, and faith, what is faith in the Bible? Faith is believing God as something is true. Then the Bible says there's a blessing when you believe the truth. And then it says there's a curse if you believe the truth. Now, isn't that true of our DNA, right? What is your DNA? It's an image, and then what does DNA do? DNA, when a cell dies, it replicates itself. It's an image. It's like if you take a copy machine and you print something, and you print it long enough, you lose the image of it, right? We're talking about mirrors and images right here. You replicate something and you lose the original. And people age, and that's why you're aging, because your cells get old and then they die. Then your body replicates a new one, right? I guess that's why you age. I don't really know. I never studied aging, but it makes sense to me if you keep replicating something that you're going to lose the original, and then you might even lose. You get cancer. You could get cancer because the print. You might lose the print of something. It only takes one cell to not replicate itself and to go array. And look how society, how that the cancers in society, the cells and the belief systems of how powerful those lies are. And those are just seeds of thought, right? And humanity's so sick it's unreal. I'm just amazed at how sick people are, to be honest. I'm amazed how sick that I've been. The inability to be able to see truth. That's why I like people like Joe Rogan. because he doesn't know that much about spiritual things or God. He doesn't have that information, but he knows a lot about life and people. And I don't even know why I'm talking about Joe Rogan. This ain't a Joe Rogan video. But a seed is something that replicates itself. So he's afraid that that seed that gets burnt into his memory, that'll become him. Because everybody has those impulses. Everybody is alike as human beings. We all have darkness, right? We all have the feeling of wanting to kill someone in our life, right? That rises up for a moment, right? That feeling like I mean, there's some things that people have done to me that I've wished I've wanted to curse that person. But in my mature mind, I just want that person to see the truth and to make restitution based on what they've done to me. You know, in my mature thinking. But then if I had more power to control my own fate, then if I had more success, then I probably wouldn't even care about that, right? You know, instead of writing books, I sit there and I do things like this and make videos. Which is something, but it'd be more valuable in like a book or something. Because this is usually, what I'm doing right now is what I usually record on tape recorders as I have thoughts. But I'm actually recording this on a video instead of putting it on a tape recorder. And maybe I won't release this, I'm not sure. I don't think this thinking has been that deep. I mean, I don't know, it kind of has been a little bit. From something I thought about. But yeah, he's afraid that that memory will stick with him and become him. As Solomon said, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So that's what he's telling him here, that you have a choice. Let me listen to it one more time. Such a profound statement. I almost missed it because this guy didn't speak very good English. And I listened, and I thought, didn't he say something about mirrors? I wasn't listening. I'm not a very good listener. Let's play it one more time.
And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
The mirrors in your mind, which is basically your memories and your self-image of how you see yourself. Okay, I gotta hear it one more time. It shows you how short my attention span is. Whew. But I see so much information that it's hard to. It goes in all different types of directions. Let me hear it one more time.
And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
The mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself and not the worst of someone else. I mean, that's really how evil spread. That's why people protect their kids from the internet and all these crazy things, because some things can stick to you. Like a lot of people, like that minister out there. There was a minister that got molested when he was young, and he became a minister. Which sometimes the things that the bad things that happen to you actually drive you toward good intent, and actually what make you who you are. I mean, if you look at anybody that became anything, it's someone that had something bad happen to them, whether it be Oprah, who had a traumatic childhood, or Abraham Lincoln, who lost his mother at a young age, who was so depressed at times he wanted to commit suicide on occasion. If you look at any of these people that become who they become, there's always something bad there that happened. And I've talked about Ashley Judd. I remember one time I saw Ashley Judd, and she's on the 700 Club, and her quest for knowledge and words and understanding, which drove her to go to school even though she made it as an actor, to stimulate her mind, she had a thirst for power and understanding and intellect and intelligence, and it drove her to school. And then when I heard her on the 700 Club talk about, I think it was probably 10 years ago or so. I don't know if it was that, maybe it wasn't, no, 10 years ago. I was so blown away by how confident she was, but she seems like a different person, but that can just be a reflection of something she gets stuck in and triggered by someone like Donald Trump. But Jim Carrey did the same thing. He found the book The Power Now because obviously as a creative person he was stuck. He was stuck in the creative portion of his mind, not only created but also obsessing, which can be your own worst enemy, your own worst nightmare. I mean, it can be productive. Your creativity can either be highly productive as an artist, or it can be stuck in that part of your mind, can be your worst enemy as you obsess on things and daydream and think about things. So Jim Carrey embraced the book The Power of Now, but then all of a sudden when Trump came along, he went through this phase where all he could do is think about Trump. He was triggered, and he just would draw all the. I remember seeing on Twitter, he'd just draw all these images of Trump, of how he saw Trump, which goes back to images, which was really the monster of something that happened in his past that made him the way he was in the first place. It really didn't have anything to do with Donald Trump. It's just Donald Trump characteristics triggered that, right? And I don't know Donald Trump to judge him one way or another. Only thing I know about him, I think he's probably growing. You know how Abraham Lincoln grew a certain way. Like some black men thought that Abraham Lincoln was this person that always felt a certain way about black people. Then they discovered early in his political career, and I'm not even know if that's true or not, that he just kind of used it as a hot political issue to advance his political career. But then I don't think he would have jumped on it if he didn't believe it in the first place. But then as he matured and saw the writing on the wall, per se, found the only way he could win the war was to free the slaves. I forget how all that went, but he got boxed into doing that. He didn't have a choice, is what I remember. And you've seen his character grow to what we have today, where he wanted to give total liberty to a black person, right? And I think that's what triggered Booth to kill him. At least it was one of the things that triggered Booth. I'm getting kind of tired. Yeah, I'm getting tired. Let me play this one more time. I could think about this kind of stuff all day long. Let me play it one more time.
And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
So the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, and not the worst of someone else. I think that's what he said, right? Listen to it one more time.
And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
Yeah, not the worst of someone else. Because that action of a human being is, remember Solomon said, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So your heart is your memory. Boy, I hate to give too many secrets about that. So I was going to write a book about that. But your heart is where you have your memories and you do your thinking and you reflect. It's how you see yourself, and it's even the area in which Satan tries to speak and put his seed. Like most people don't know, in Genesis, Satan changed our spirit, our heart, our mind, so to be more closer on his wavelength so he could speak into it. Like in Genesis, in Genesis, Satan couldn't speak into their spirit. He had to manifest into some sort of creature, right? Just like the demons in the Bible entered into pigs. Well, in Genesis, Satan entered into what they called as a serpent or a snake or whatever. But what's interesting is that a human being can hold 1,000 demonic entities, and yet a pig will kill itself, would rather kill itself than and commit suicide than have those things inside of them. And a pig, the Jews considered the pig as the filthy creature they wouldn't eat. But yet a pig, as those 1,000 entities entered into the different pigs, they would rather commit suicide than have those entities in them. But a human being will have that darkness in them. Like for example, Carrie Fisher, of course, she banished her demons by electric shock therapy. But a lot of us will have that darkness in us and accept it and actually even love it. And that's kind of what happens, you know. There's a part of us that loves darkness, right? Can love darkness. I hope I'm still recording. I think I am. Let me see. I mute myself sometimes and I forget I'm muted. I think I've given away way too many secrets about things. I mean, it's some things that people know, but I don't know if I'm going to release this video or not. So I'd like to explore and maybe write a book about some of this stuff, and someone else might do it based on the seed and information that I gave. And even saying that gives people that idea. I mean, that's how DNA originally got stolen. But what I think I said, I don't know if I said that in this video, but if anybody knows anything, they know that, and this is something no one taught me. Nobody taught me this. No Christian taught me this. This is how it started for me. I used to wake up all the time at 4:44. I thought, why does God always wake me up at, whether it be 4:44 at night or 4:44 in the afternoon? Why am I always seeing this 4:44? There's even a road where I'm supposed to buy a lottery ticket that's tied into Route 444 if the lottery ever reaches $1 billion, which I don't think it ever has. I'll just throw that out there. But that's how that started. Then all of a sudden, I bought this computer Bible, and all of a sudden I typed in the word God and noticed that the word God was in the Bible 4,444 times. And I thought, well, that's just like the 444 I was seeing, or the 444 that I was seeing all the time when I wake up. So then I started seeing all these fours in different things. The fact that DNA has 4 letters. And then I was going to write a book about the scripture, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Which when I saw that scripture, I saw it as DNA. I saw information speaking in a person's heart, which is a memory, and then that memory makes them who they are, or is their character, or their belief system. And one bit of information, like bits of information of what they are, that makes up a human character, right? And that's what forms our reality, on how we see the world based on this information, which gives us a consciousness. I mean, of course, information itself doesn't give us consciousness. Information has to have consciousness to bring it to life, as far as to focus and to think about it. If I don't take an idea, like right now I'm taking an idea and I'm thinking about it, focusing on it, and I'm creating information based on just a little bit of thought. And expanding that information. That's what science does. It finds a truth, and then it tries to expand it. And then when it expands it, it finds another truth, and it keeps replicating itself, just like DNA replicates itself and becomes something. It's got to start out with a bit of information, right? And then all that information becomes something. It becomes a corn, becomes a human being. It becomes different things based on that information and based on what information is activated in a crazy scheme of it's so bizarre. But that's how society is, and all the information that's it's kind of scary when you think about it all, because all this information that makes up a human body of 40 trillion cells, they're all communicating and listening, per se, and following, without you even thinking about it, bits of information, and operating based on something's telling it what to do, right? There's programming. Something's telling your cells what to do. talking about going into the what's that show called? The Alfred Hitchcock's Alfred Hitchcock shows. What was his show's called? Twilight Zone. Talking about entering into the Twilight Zone. Start having thoughts like that about about all just in one cell, the billions and billions and trillions of bits of information from an atom that's following certain laws and rules and principles that of behaviors. What is a behavior? It's something following a law, which is something that tells something how to behave. It's kind of funny in society how our biggest problem with people is how they behave, right? If everyone behaved right, then you would need no cops. And if there were no cops, then there would be no cops putting knees on people's necks, right? But obviously that's not the problem. The problem is, well, let's not even go in that direction. But I think that every problem stems from this, what you're talking about here. This image of how we see ourselves and how we see other people. This mirror. I think everything that happens in humanity is based on what they're talking about right here. I think it defines humanity based on this, what they're saying.
And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
The mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of somebody else. And another thing that the mirror can do, it can lie to you. You can look in the mirror and see a lie. Until some light, like a woman can look in a mirror and see themselves, but then if they look in a magnifying glass mirror, all of a sudden they start seeing a bunch of defects. And then if you take it to another spectrum where they can see your exposure to the sun, they can actually see skin damage that happened from the sun that you wouldn't see with regular light. So what you think is the truth isn't really the truth. But you're just seeing a certain thing, right? You're actually seeing a lie until you put more light or more information on something, right? And the whole problem with this guy is he has understanding. He's able to understand these criminals and think like them, right? He's able to get in their head. So as he gets in their head and he thinks like them, he's afraid because he can understand them and think like them, he's afraid that he is them. But then in a sense, it's true because, in a sense, almost, because that's how a seed replicates itself, is it hijacks the host. Or I mean not a seed, but a virus. It hijacks the DNA of the host. And it's got to fit into a cell, like different, there's like in seawater, how many viruses are just in a drop of seawater? How many viruses are in a drop of seawater?
10 million viruses. According to Coastal Wiki, in a drop of seawater, one can...
So in one drop of seawater, there's 10 million viruses. Isn't that bizarre? But the virus has to have just like a key. I don't know that much about it, because I've never studied it. But I would assume that the virus, just like a certain key can fit, like a key can fit into a door, it's got to fit by design, right? So there's, how many viruses they just got finished saying? Is it 10 million? Yeah, 10 million viruses. So the beauty of that is that the key has to fit, or it can't unlock the door and get inside the cell, I guess. I mean, I'm assuming that's how it works, but I don't really know, because I've never studied it. But I'm assuming that the virus has to fit into a specific type cell, first of all, and then like a key, it's got to fit for it to open the door to be able to get access into the cell itself. I mean, I don't know anything about viruses, but I do know a little tiny bit about DNA. I mean, all I know about DNA is that it's information. That's all I know. In 4 letters. I don't even understand basic computer programming. I've never studied that. I don't know how any of it works. One thing I know, that, because I've never studied it or thought about it, is that DNA is information. That's all I know. And that certain genes express themselves, and that's, I would assume expressing their self is that which is able to speak and create. I would assume. But anyway, I think, let me listen to it one more time, see what else. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to release this video or not. It's like I could sit here and write a book about this stuff. I know what I'm going to do. I'll play it one more time. It's just so interesting. And see, this is just, I almost didn't even catch this. I was watching this and I just heard the word mirror, and I remember that I'd recorded information about a mirror, and it caught my attention. It's just something that from studying my own mind, I realized. So let's listen to it one more time.
Be. And well, the mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else.
The mirrors in your mind can reflect the best of yourself, not the worst of someone else. See, that's what happens is, like in one of the songs I remember listening to, it's a song by Metallica. It's called Nothing Else Matters. That's what that song's about. And it's kind of what they're talking about here. They're talking about when you, I guess when you become famous, you have to worry about what everybody thinks about you. So you have this new DNA that comes from the mirrors of other people's thinking of how they see you, gets directed at you, which is happening on Twitter and Facebook. People, more and more people judging and getting attention, and people thinking other people are thinking about them. The awareness that they think people are judging them and thinking about them, which goes back to Genesis, where they got the knowledge of good and evil and they had the ability to start judging others, which is a mirror of belief system about you and other people. So when Metallica writes a song, Nothing Else Matters, what they're talking about is this reflection, this virus, this DNA of thinking that comes forth from people. And then Jesus said people are evil, right? So what are they doing in this song? That in this song they're not listening to all the mirrors of thought that are being projected. Like they talk about people projecting. People are projecting their words on how they see these people, and the song says nothing else matters. And the song is about trusting who they are, which is kind of like what happens in a cell that receives a sperm. You know, like when a sperm enters into a cell, which is the DNA of the sperm, it walls it off and then nothing else matters, right? That means all those other millions of sperm. I mean, how many sperm? Let's see. I don't even know how many sperm a man injects. When a man ejaculates, how many sperm comes forth? 20 million sperm to 300 million sperm. So when one sperm gets inside there, one DNA of thought, of creation, that's the only thing that matters. So when you become famous, you get all these sperm seed thought from other people. So, you know, people like Karen Carpenter, started being susceptible to all this talk about her. And then got an eating disorder. Because what did she really want to control? She didn't want to, she didn't want to eat the words of other people. Jesus said, you must eat me and drink me. But she was eating and drinking all the words of other people. And some stuff she received, like people loved her music and she enjoyed that. But then I'm sure people said other things and she couldn't control what they said. See, Jesus said that words are, he being the word of life, said that words are food. And he said, don't eat the leaven of the scribes and Pharisees, the religion that they brought forth. So Metallica kind of comes to the same thing that, so is this guy in this video is able to understand these criminals. He must have some darkness in his own self to be able to understand them in the first place, which a lot of comedians, you know, come from dark pasts. They use comedy as a way to, just like laughing gas at a dentist to deal with life, right? If you go into the dentist, you get some laughing gas. If you're getting surgery, you get put to sleep. So a comedian uses laughter to soften the brutality and the ugliness of life and make it funny, right? It's like making the medicines, I don't know. So let's listen to a little bit of Metallica here. I just saw a serpent. What does that mean, don't tread on me? Let me look at that up real quick. What does the saying, don't tread on me, mean? I forget to put mean.
According to Wikipedia, the Gadsden Flag is a historical American flag with a yellow field depicting a timber rattlesnake coiled and ready to strike. Beneath the rattlesnake resting on grass are the words, "Don't tread on me."
Okay, let me listen to that again because I didn't catch any of that. A Gadsden flag is a historical American flag Let's strange. Let's see if I can find it on Wikipedia. Not that Wikipedia is the expert, but don't tread on me.
According to Wikipedia, the Gadsden flag is a historical American flag with a yellow field depicting a timber rattlesnake coiled and ready to strike.
Weird. Founding Fathers. I'm amazed that a rattlesnake became a symbol of American independence. Huh. Says, but the flag isn't a symbol of American government, it's a symbol of shared American values, especially our highest common value called freedom. Spirit of 76. I graduated in 76. And famous for his sense of humor. In 1980, he wrote he thanked the Brits for their policy sending convicted felons to America. American colonists should send rattlesnakes to England. So in 1751, he wrote a commentary in the Gazette suggesting that as a way to thank the Brits for their policy of sending convicted felons to America, American colonists should send rattlesnakes to England. 3 years later, in 1754, he used a snake to illustrate another point, this time not so humorous. First known political cartoon in an American newspaper, the image of a snake cut into 8 sections. The sections represented individual colonies, and the curves of the snake suggested the coastline. South Carolina was the tail of the snake. Almost words join or die. It was a plea for unity defending the colonies of the French and Indian War. It was based on a snake could come back to life if you join the sections together before sunset. There's just too much information here. Let me see if I can just go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia. Here we go. Dang, I didn't even... Somehow it knew. I just said Wikipedia, somehow it... Here it is, right here. It even has a Metallica song here. Okay, is that the song or what's the deal? Let's go to this flag thing. Okay, it's a historical American flag with yellow field depicting a timber rattlesnake. Coiled and ready to strike. Beneath the rattlesnake resting on the grass are the words, "Don't tread on me." The flag is named after an American general and politician and Christian descendant. I'm not very good at pronouncing names. Who designed it in 1775 during the American Revolution. It was used by Continental Marines as an early motto flag, along with another flag. Huh. Anyway, back to the song. starting to listen to the song, a Bible scripture came to me that says words are either life or death. The Bible says words are either life or death. So when someone in fame says, "Don't tread on me," they're basically saying, don't judge me with a death word of your own opinion, right? Don't unleash that serpent of your mouth, that word of death. Don't take your tongue and strike at me like a rattlesnake with the word of death, right?
So close, no matter how far. Couldn't be much more.
So I'll be honest, as I'm looking at this video, you see these all different types of looking guys. You see, and this guy's a naked picture of, I guess, his girlfriend right there. You see all these different types of dress. I mean, I had a thought run my head of quirkiness, of all different thoughts, but those are thoughts that just run through your head and you can't stop them, right? You might not agree with them, but they're there, right? And if you get stuck focusing on one of them, then that's what you see, right? Like, let's just play the music without words and just visually look at it. Okay, no thoughts are popping in my mind right now yet, but I mean, thoughts do pop in your mind. Just, I don't. It really depends on how you see other people. And some of the stuff I ignore my own thoughts. Sometimes you get stuck. Like, you see a lot of information when people give you a look. They're trying to communicate something. I mean, even this video, they're trying to communicate here that being a musician takes skill, and they're actually trying to impress other people by this video, right? It's a projection of that they're showing that being a magician is requires a lot of technical, complex, like this machine right here, right? This recording device right here, and then they're trying to show you the fine-tuning to make this music, all this technical information. They're saying that nothing else matters, but yet they're projecting. Let's see if I'm even recording right now. Yeah, I'm recording. They're not showing you this stuff for no reason. They want you to see them in this light. They want you to see them as not just a bunch of hippie-looking guys, you know, that wear long hair, and they don't want you to just see that. They don't want you to see their physical looks. They want you to see them. So they're projecting. They're showing this information because they want to show you that making music is an art form of man becoming one with technology and instruments and blending sounds, and it's a technical thing. They're not dumb doing it, right? They're trying to say, look, we're more than what you think we are. So they're showing, I'm not sure what this guy does. He's got his fingers wrapped. I'm too dumb to know what instrument he plays. Or not dumb, but just ignorant. But it took a lot of time to learn, how to play these instruments. Okay, this is a drummer. This guy that wrapped his fingers. And they're trying to show you the years of meticulous skill it took to learn to play this stuff, to put it all together to make a song. So they're showing you all this. Not sure what this guy's showing here. Let's go back to the music.
So close, no matter how far. Couldn't be much more from the heart. Forever trusting who we are, and nothing else matters. Never opened myself this way. Life is ours, we live it our way. Hold these words I will just say, and nothing else matters.
I hate to say it, but he's lying. If nothing else matters, why show? If you don't care about what people think, why show all this equipment? Why project that? So it does matter. But they've trimmed down what matters. I mean, why show at the beginning of the video, don't tread on me? Why? That represents striking at you for you treading on me with your belief systems and your words. But but what they're really saying, I suppose, is that they've quieted the noise. They know the serpents are still out there. The people that are going to judge and use their tongue as serpents, or which actually they're saying, don't tread on me. I mean, don't step on me with your words. They know that they're out there. They're kind of saying, respect me. Show some respect. And they're even given a warning that they might strike. Or they want to give that illusion, just like a lot of people like to ride Harleys. They want that respect, right? People that ride Harleys and I'm not saying everyone, I'm not going to label everyone that rides a Harley, but or even people that become police officers. A lot of people do that because they want respect. Even Trump becoming president, everybody wants respect, right? Nobody wants to be disrespected. So what they're really saying is they know that that stuff's out there, they know that people's disrespecting them, and what they've done is they've stopped dwelling on it. They know it's out there, but they don't dwell on it. When they say nothing else matters, it means they know it's there, but they stop dwelling on it.
So close, no matter how far. Couldn't be much more from the heart. Forever trusting who we are, and nothing else matters. Never opened myself this way. Life is ours, we live it our way. Hold these words I would just say, and nothing else matters. Trust I seek and I find in you.
When he says trust I seek, we're speaking about about the mirrors of self-image, of how we see ourselves. Now, when he says when the sperm, when the egg finally encloses around that one sperm, in a sense, it's almost like saying, well, I've rejected all the other thought and DNA, and I've accepted the one. That's pretty bizarre, because the rest is going to die, right? And in a sense, it's the same way, like when a bill in Congress and the president signs a bill, then the bill then has life and it becomes a law, right? But for a person to govern their own self and even be president in the first place, you can't worry about what other people think. You have to get to a point where nothing else matters, but then they accuse you of being a sociopath, right? And maybe you are.
Every day for us something new. Open mind for a different view, and nothing else matters. Never care for what they do. Never care for what they know.
really the hippie generation, Woodstock and all that stuff, was about rejecting the DNA of society that put them in a cookie cutter things that a housewife has to, be at home and greet the husband when he comes home, be the good little housemaker, and the church told him you had to be this way. The government said you have to be this way. So really, though, everything's about freedom to be whatever they want to be, right? But society always judges. The little curse we picked up from the knowledge of good and evil, the thing that we wanted power. We wanted power. We wanted to become gods. But if you're going to become a god and have the knowledge of good and evil, you have to know how to handle it. I don't think God was opposed of us having that knowledge. You just have to know how to weigh it properly on the right scale of truth. If it leans too way, you're too far to the right. If it leans too far the other way, you're too far on the left. But then there's some things that are true. You can only make water one way, right? Words are either life or death. You can only make H2O with one way. So I have to believe that there are things out there that are true and the things that are not true. When you really get down to it. And there's very few Jesus. There was only one Jesus, and there's no Christian that ever duplicated that. Or even came close. Or I don't know. There's probably some that came close. But I think we would know if they were among us. And just because someone has a spiritual gift and they have a gift of healing or a gift of tongues or a gift of that's a gift. That's not based on self-righteousness. A gift is a gift. It has nothing to do with their own righteousness. So let's correct that right there. That type of thinking, thinking, because you see these different ministers with gifts. Like Joe Easting has a gift of faith. He doesn't have a gift of understanding. He has a gift of faith. At least that's what I see when I don't listen to him very often, but I don't know why I don't. Because I need to hear that. I need to hear someone that just trusts God and has faith in God. I need to hear that. Everybody should get some DNA from. Everybody has different gifts. Someone should get DNA from everybody that has, and take whatever good that they have, right? And you can even take something from Hitler, something that from the Hitler did, you can learn from his mistakes. You can learn something from communism. You can learn something from. We're learning that freedom can go awry. If freedom says that if freedom says you can go, a cross kind of represents north, east, south, and west, right? Everybody has to go in a direction in life, right? You can't go to go to a place, whether it be mentally or physically or spiritually, you have to go in a certain direction, right? You can't go in a circle, and you can't wander in a circle. You have to choose a certain direction, right? You can't go north one day, then south the next day, then east the next day, then west the next day. You have to go in a certain direction. Anyway, I think I'm done with this video. I shouldn't even made this video. I was trying to enjoy myself and just listen to the show, but it's too deep. All I did was turn on my listening for a second. As soon as I turned on my listening, because I really wasn't listening to this show, but as soon as I did turning on my ability to listen, I immediately heard that. Then when I heard that, I immediately knew that there was something big there, and anyway, I think I've said enough. Maybe I should write books instead of doing this crap. And not that this is crap. Anyway, I gotta rest. I'm done. I got stuff I gotta do. I don't have a wife. I got dishes sitting in the sink for 2 days now.